What is up there, everybody? Citrus Aviation here for yet another video, and today we have model aircraft news for the month of April 2022. This is coming out in early May because the May Gemini Jets releases have not come out yet, but when they do, we'll eventually do a May episode as well. Today I have a special guest on with me. Unfortunately, his audio did not work last time we tried to do the episode, when we tried to do the February-March episode, so I have brought him on for this one, and I'd like to welcome Aviation 18 to the show.
Hello.
It is very good to have you on once again. I like to bring on a bunch of different creators, and you make a bunch of great videos, and obviously you're technically the biggest model aircraft collector YouTuber on the platform.
True, I mean, technically speaking, yeah.
Hey, they say numbers don't lie.
True.
So, for today's episode, we want to start by talking about some of the Gemini Jet's future releases, and particularly one that is absent from the website. And some of you may remember that British Airways BA 737 MAX 8 that was operated by, I believe, it's a South African carrier, one of BA's subsidiaries, and that model has been removed from the website after nearly 1,000 days on the website. It's been up since July of 2019, and after nearly 4 years on the website, they suddenly removed it. So they're not going to make it after all. But it's still one of the most interesting tales of probably the most well-known model that Gemini Jets announced, but never made.
Yeah, I was actually going to get that model as well. I've got a fascination with British Airways, and of course, while it wasn't technically British Airways, it was a Comair which operates down in South Africa. I was actually really looking forward to seeing that model released, so it's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, if there was a licensing issue or something, because the airplane actually does operate for the airline, so there must have been something that caused them to not make the model. So that's obviously a big deal, and to even where it was such a big deal that Red River Aviation made a whole video about it, so it's kind of crazy. And I think it actually was on the future release previews for an entire 1,000 days, which is crazy to think about. But outside of that, there's a bunch of great future releases on here. I'll definitely get the Alaska Pacific Wonders livery when that comes out. Some people call this the Orca livery because obviously it has orcas on it, but I've also seen it called the Pacific Wonders livery as well. The United 753 will definitely be a pickup for me. Probably the Qantas 380. I'll get the Lufthansa CRJ 900 in both scales because why not? And the Polar 747, if they make that in, well, they're saying they're going to make it in 400 scale, so I'll be definitely picking that one up. Because I think the interactive series that's on the 747 mold is better than on the 748. And they show a retro model here, this Eastern L188. If they make a Delta DC-7, I'll pick that up because I've seen it at the Delta Airlines Museum. It's a really cool airplane.
Yeah, very similar to you. I'm going to get probably the Alaska Orca, or whatever you want to call it, livery, 737 MAX 9. I think the MAX mold can be okay with Gemini Jets. They've had an issue with the engines pointing up, but I think that the MAX mold is still kind of viable from Gemini Jets when compared to the NG, and I mean next generation of 737, so the 700, 800, 900, not NG models, if that makes sense as well. I would love to get the Qantas A380, the Iceland Air 737 MAX 8 as well. I do hope they release all the different color variations. That would be really cool to see. And then of course going down on the list as well, the British Airways 1-200 Twin Otter. I think that's really cool. The Polar 747-400, and as well, of course, the C5 Galaxy.
Oh, and I also forgot, I'm going to get that Amistar DC-9 if they make that, because I've seen that aircraft in real life, so it's a really cool plane. But yeah, good releases. Unfortunately, the Gemini Jets MAX mold has had some issues, we'll call them. Most famously, the rocket ship engines, as someone dubbed it. I don't remember who it was, but someone called it the rocket ship engines, and it's really hilarious, but also very true. It's good to see Gemini Jets making a bunch of Australian models as of late, because as you can see, they're going to make these Qantas models, including the 190 here, in both 200 and 400 scale. So all those of you who complain that Gemini Jets does not make Australian models, well, just take a look. They actually do release stuff. It's just they don't make as many as they do North American models, because North American models tend to sell better. That's just the reality of the situation. With molds, we do have some very exciting new molds coming out, and the first one we're going to talk about here is the Tupolev Tu-154, which NG Moulds is making. They'll be making both the Tu-154A, sorry, not the Tu-154A, but the Tu-154B and the Tu-154M. The M is the most common variant, and the Tu-154B was the second variant of the Tu-154, and that one, there was quite a few of those made as well. If they make a Cubana Tu-154, I'll pick up that.
Yeah, I'm also very excited for the Tupolev 154. Of course, I'm not a huge fan of how NG are kind of sticking with the Soviet aircraft. I think there are still a lot of aircraft, some Western aircraft, some much more common aircraft that I think they should release first before they get to these kind of more obscure aircraft. Like, for example, the A320, the A319. I think that they should be prioritizing those aircraft over these ones. I know this is still a very cool aircraft, but just... you know, I just don't think that they should really be releasing this many. Of course, we've also had the other, for example, the Tupolev 204. I think one is okay, you know, one and then getting back to some other Western aircraft. But I just think that they're really going heavy on the Soviet aircraft at the moment, and they kind of need to reel it back towards some of the more, you know, the much more common aircraft. And I know they are planning on that as well. I think they have the 747-8 coming up pretty soon and some other aircraft like that. And of course, we've also had the 777 recently as well. So of course, they are still releasing Western aircraft, but I think that, you know, the Soviet aircraft, while I am still excited for them, they need to reel it in again.
Yeah, and it does look like we're going to next get a Western aircraft with the 747-800 and 747-8F.
Nope.
Those will be very good, and they'll definitely be better than the Gemini Jets variant. Speaking of Gemini Jets, I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about the new Gemini 200 C5M Galaxy and the Twin Otter, because I know you had some thoughts about those new molds, and now's a good time for you to mention it, because unfortunately your audio did not sync from the last episode.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, I'm pretty excited about the 1:200 scale C5. While I probably won't go for any, it's still a very exciting mold because that aircraft is going to be an absolute beefcake. It's going to be huge and a very heavy model. I'm actually pretty surprised that they're going for that one, but there we go. I'm also looking, I'm hoping that they release some other liveries and not just these plain basic grey colour schemes. I'm hoping they go for example, the retro US Air Force C5 livery, and they have some Cold War era camo colour schemes as well. I hope they go down that route and not just continuing with these grey colour schemes. And as well, the Twin Otter, I'm also very excited to see that in 1:200 scale. We've got kind of the two ends of the spectrum. You've got the C5 in 1:200 scale, which is huge, of course, and then you've got the Twin Otter, which is going to be smaller than most 1:400 models even, because of course the Twin Otter is a very small aircraft. But it is very interesting to see that Gemini Jets are going down that route of, you know, making some new molds that are kind of smaller as well. Of course, I'm really excited to see some of the liveries that come out with, of course, this new British Airways Twin Otter. That's going to be really cool, and I hope they make some others, like for example the Logan Air Twin Otter. I think I'll probably go for that if they ever release that, and of course the options are endless. I think it would be really cool as well to see some kind of some different Twin Otters as well. Like for example, I know a lot of Twin Otters were converted into seaplanes, so it'd be really cool to see some like that, and maybe some with the skis on the wheels as well. I think that would be cool, and I'm really hoping that Gemini Jets are a little bit more innovative with their mold, and I hope that they go down this route of being, you know, making some of these more obscure aircrafts.
Yeah, and they're definitely starting to do that, because Gemini Jets has molds for basically every major aircraft type. So doing some of the more obscure aircraft, or aircraft that you don't see around as much anymore, like the Twin Otters were very common in the United States about 20, 30, 40 years ago, but they've sort of faded away, as now the only ones that are left are pretty much general aviation aircraft. So it's really cool to see Gemini Jets making some of these older aircraft that used to be really common as part of their more retro series of aircraft. And of course the C5M, a great aircraft once again, are very good to see Gemini Jets making that legendary aircraft in 200 scale. With releases, we've got two sets of releases we're going to talk about, and those were the big the big two brands that released model releases in the month of April. That was the Gemini Jets releases that came out on April the 12th, 2022, and then we'll do the NG Moulds releases that were released on the 19th. So the Gemini Jets releases this month I thought were really, really good. There's a bunch of great models in here. We have the Air Canada CRJ900, very good release set, and definitely one for me, as I've gained a reputation for trying to get every single CRJ900 out there, so, you know, why not do that? The Alaska 175 will be a model I'm getting. Their website still says it's a 170LR, which is incorrect, because this one's actually a 175. This SkyWest operated aircraft. The American CRJ700 is a great re-release from that famous January 2015 release where they had this plane, the American 738, and there was one other in there, American new livery aircraft. Might have been the 170, but a really good release. Great to see us back, that people can finally pick this one up. The Eastern 777s will be really cool, and you can get both flaps up, flaps down. We finally have, for the first time since I believe it's 2011, a completely bone stock, regular livery Emirates A380. So this one will be sold out. I'm surprised it isn't already sold out, but it's a great model. It's really good. It's just a regular Emirates A380. That's one for my collection right there. The Logan AR7 Saab 340, I'm sure, is a model that you are interested in for obvious reasons. And I'm also picking up the KLM 737-700 for a new project airport that I have. I would have picked up the United 752 if NG hadn't already released it. And at 200 scale, the Gulfstream looks good, but I'm not a huge fan of the livery on it, so I'm not getting that. I am picking up the Delta A321neo because, you know, I'm a big fan of Delta, and I want to try and get on one of those first A321neos. The United 752 in 200 scale, same one as in 400 scale, I might pick that up. And then the Max 8 in 200 scale, we saw that in 400 scale last month. And of course, the KC-135 Seymour Johnson in 200 scale as well. So lots of great releases here from Gemini Jets, a lot of good stuff. I think there's something for everybody in here, even for the Australian collectors. You get another Alliance sale. This one is for another, I believe it's another rugby livery, but this one's Flocka 70. So good stuff right there.
Yeah, and personally for me, I went for a few models this month. I went for 4 in total, I think I did. I went, no, 5 actually. I went for the Alaska Embraer 170. I went for 2 of the American CRJ 700s. I went for, of course, the Logan Air Saab 340, and I went for the Delaware Air Force Base Lockheed C-130. If you've seen the pictures of the Logan Air Saab 340, it's not looking the best. That front wheel is looking huge. I don't know why it's that big. It's kind of unrealistic, but there we go.
I'm just looking at the picture now. It's gigantic.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. But yeah, apart from that, if it wasn't for the NG 752 that was released, I probably would have gone for the Gemini United 752, but I didn't, just because, of course, I already have the NG one. And moving down to 1 to 200 scale, a lot of those look really cool, but the one I kind of have a gripe with is another British Airways Concorde. I mean, in any other setting, I would be over the moon to see a British Airways Concorde, but I think it was just over a year ago, we had pretty much this exact same Concorde, just it was BOA-B, I think was the registration, and now we've got BOA-A, which is pretty much the exact same aircraft, exact same livery, and this is what I've been saying for so long, is I wish Gemini would start releasing some more interesting Concordes. Of course, we've just had Chatham Dockyard after Chatham Dockyard, and I want to see some cool ones. I want to see the Landor livery Concorde. I want to see the Nagus livery Concorde. I want to see the joint Nagus and Singapore livery Concorde. I want to see the prototype Concordes, the Air France Concorde, the Pepsi Concorde. But we are just getting Chatham livery after Chatham livery, and it's kind of annoying at this point. I just want to see some diversity. But yeah, they just know that, of course, this Concorde sells, and they're kind of sticking with that.
But this aircraft is the first one in the registration series, and I suspect Gemini just is working to make every single one that they ever had. So they've got like 2 or 3 more to do, and then they'll be done.
Exactly.
I think the only variants that they've done is they released the Air France Concorde like 6 years ago. And
yeah, exactly.
And then JC Wings made the Pepsi one. So if you want to get the Pepsi one, JC Wings has made that. I suspect you are picking that one up.
Yeah, I need to find it, but yeah.
That one looks good. I'd also love to... Was there also like a Singapore hybrid one too? And like a Braniff hybrid as well, if I remember?
I'm not sure about the Braniff hybrid, but I remember that British Airways in Singapore, they had this joint deal where they had half of the Concorde painted in the Singapore livery and then half painted in the British Airways livery, which was, I believe, the Negus livery at the time. And they flew that, I think, between Singapore and London.
That's pretty cool. And then Braniff for temporarily operated one between, I think it was Dallas and Sao Paulo. The aircraft itself was a bit self-defeating by how expensive it was to operate. A lot like the A380. Really incredible aircraft. It's just, it ended up being a bit too expensive for most airlines to operate. But both the Concorde and A380 will go down in history as amazing aircraft that people remember for a very long time. The NG models May releases are out, and they are currently still on pre-order, but they'll be here very soon. We got a bunch of releases in here. The 747 SPs are really cool. And I'm sure you'll know more about the Flight 50, but they did 2 Flight 50 specials. And they did a standard livery Pan Am 747, which I'm sure will be very popular with people. Of course, the Star Wars 737-800 for United Airlines is my favorite. This is an aircraft that I actually was able to step in and actually be inside of when it came in from Chicago O'Hare one night. I was walking with the night crew and for Delta, and as we went over to fuel some of our vehicles towards the end of the night, there was a United 738 parked over at Alpha 4. So we all took a look at it, went inside. It was really cool because it has the interior, which has a light side and a dark side of the interior. So that was really cool. The United went all the way to making that plane really special. The Qatar 777s are really cool, although I'm still waiting for a regular livery one. And I am picking up the regular livery BA 222. And there's the Japan 789s. We got a bunch of Chinese models as per usual. The Fiji A350 means that NG Models is now the 4th company in 400 scale to make this. And they did do the re-release of the French B350, so they finally have corrected that issue.
Yeah, so I really like this release of the NG models this month. I went for 4 models, I think it was this month. I went for, of course, the United Star Wars 738. I think anybody would be a fool not to go for that aircraft because it is an absolutely cool, just such a really cool aircraft. If you're a Star Wars fan as well, it just doubles up even better. On top of that, of course, I went for one of the Pan Am. I think it was Pan Am. Let me check. No, I went for a TWA. I have to check my orders because I can't remember what models I've ordered, but I went for one of the TWA 747 SPs because I already have a Pan Am 747 SP, I'm now remembering. I then also went for both of the British Airways 777-200ERs. So we have one in the normal livery, one in the Chelsea Rose livery, and I am hoping that NG don't stop with just the Chelsea Rose, because of course Chelsea Rose is a part of the Project Utopia colour schemes, which went on from 1997 to 2001, where they had a bunch of their tails painted in different liveries. I have a lot of the 747s painted into those special liveries that Gemini Jets released back in, I think, about 2001. So it'd be really cool to build up a fleet of some NG British Airways 222s with a lot of the Project Utopia colour schemes on those.
Chelsea Rose one's, I think, the best looking of them, because I'm personally not a huge fan of a lot of these liveries, but this one, because it actually matches the British Airways color scheme, actually looks pretty nice, so I actually like it. But the regular livery is the one for me, and I'm sure your Project Utopia fleet will look fantastic in a video here in the near future. But yeah, very good release from NG with a lot of variety. I think there's a lot of models that certain individuals will want in particular. So I think most people, there's going to be like 1 or 2 that they'll pick up from here. But once again, all they have to do is get your money once, and that's it for a month. And so that brings us to the end of release news, and we got some community news I want to talk about here. We first talk about the Midget HD bringing back his model reviews. So he hasn't been making those for ages and ages, and I've always thought they were some of the best on YouTube. I'm really excited to see his reviews come back. He's made 3. He did the Air Canada A330, Delta 763, and the Norwegian 789. So it's really good to see those back. Now, since he posted those videos about a month ago, he hasn't posted any more. So maybe he'll make more, but it's just good to see him back at doing some model reviews. As he's made some of, in my opinion, some of the best model reviews out there. And so it's really good to see him back at it, even if it's just for 3 videos.
Yeah, definitely. He's one of the OGs. I remember him commenting on a bunch of my really early videos. So, great to see him back.
Yeah, absolutely. And then next up, model aviation YouTubers are making videos that are popping off like crazy, particularly about real-world aviation topics. So, both you, Aviation 18 and AS Aviation have had big videos. Obviously, AS Aviation has covered the Qatar Airways situation between Airbus and Qatar Airways pretty significantly, and along some trip reports they did about the same time. Those videos really popped off. They were great videos, really well done, and he got the recognition that he deserved from them, and hopefully he made some revenue from it. And yeah, they were very good videos, and of course the algorithm picked up on it, and it's really cool to see that model aviation YouTubers are making videos that the general public is really interested in, because hopefully it helps bring more awareness to the hobby and bring more awareness to the great things that you can find out about aviation. And of course, your videos covered the whole Ukrainian situation, particularly with the military aviation side of it, because, you know, that's something that you're very interested in, and you covered that quite significantly. I thought you did a really good job of that.
Thank you.
Let me actually look up, because I think you have now one of the most viewed aviation videos of the year so far, ironically. That one's at 8.6 million views about the Ghost of Kyiv, which is really impressive. I don't know how much ad revenue a 2-minute video makes, but it was a good video. And of course, your video about the destruction of the AN-225 did really well, another 1.7 million. These are views that Sam Chewy would be very proud with. So yeah, it's really cool that you're making videos that you really enjoy about military aviation, and that they're doing really well. So I'm very happy to see that, and it's very good to see members of the community have videos that really pop off, because it's really rewarding when, you know, you put in years of work and dedication to the hobby, and you just have one video that really pops off. It's always very satisfying, particularly considering that regular mainstream aviation content really does better than model aviation content. And so that's why some of us do that, because A, we love aviation, so of course we do some mainstream aviation topics, but also they generally have a tendency to perform a little bit better. But yeah, you did a great coverage on the Ukrainian aviation situation and military aviation. So yeah, good videos there, and it's really cool to see some of our favorite aviation YouTubers doing really, really well in the space. So I definitely think that YouTube is, at least in terms of growth, still there. You can still start a channel today and build up an audience, particularly if, you know, you follow certain rules, you be very genuine about yourself, you make good videos and things like that. So we enjoy this hobby quite a bit as a hobby, but it just so happens that sometimes it pays off. So that's always great to see. So that's pretty much it for that we have for model aircraft news in April 2022. We are going to have a May episode here in probably about 2 or 3 weeks once the next NG models and Gemini Jets release sets come out. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Do you have any parting words for the great people on YouTube?
Yeah, just keep on doing what you're doing, I guess. If you really love going back to what you said about, you know, starting up a YouTube channel, it's never too late of a time to start that up. Of course, this whole new era on TikTok and things like that is opening up a completely new door to some alternate content. If you're into that, of course. Personally, I only really use TikTok to look at memes. I don't really use it that seriously, but definitely for long form content, and if you just really want to share a passion of aviation, YouTube is still a very valid place to do so.
Yeah, I completely agree, because TikTok, it's fun for the short form videos, but the reality is, if you're trying to build a business, TikTok's not very good for that generally, except if you're like maybe like the top 100 creators who can actually make a decent living there. YouTube pays way better because it's long form content, and there's more chance to add advertisements in, because ultimately, whenever you're running a social media business, even if it is, just a fun hobby, income is based on how much advertisement revenue you can get, and YouTube just has way more revenue opportunities than a platform like TikTok does. That's just the reality of the situation. It's not a bad thing. It just is how it is. So that's it for this episode. I want to thank Aviation 18 for coming on to today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless you.